sound like it was actually happening, and they panicked lots of people. It says they found that the estimated 6 million people who heard this broadcast, 25% thought it was real. Most of the people who panicked did not think it was an invasion from Mars that was occurring, but rather an invasion by the Germans. They're trying to see how well their propaganda worked, hyping up the public, you see. It was later determined that because the radio broadcasts from the Munich crisis earlier in the year, the masses were more prone to this. It was called Radio Project. It says the Radio Project was a social research project funded by, guess who again? The Rockefeller Foundation, to look into the effects of mass media on society. In 1937, the Rockefeller Foundation started funding research to find the effects of new forms of mass media on society, especially radio. Several universities joined up, and a headquarters was formed at the School of Public and International Affairs at Princeton University. That was also part of the psychology department. The following people were involved, and here's the old names again. Paul Lazarus, director of the Radio Projects. Theodore Adorno. These guys all had it was actually OSS clearance, by the way. Theodore Adorno, a massive player in all of this. He ended up running a big part of the culture industry, designing, along with Bertrand Russell and the Macy Group, the kind of culture they'd bring in the 50s and in the 60s. In fact, he owned a lot of the rights of various groups for their music, and it's often said that he wrote a lot of it. Anyway, it says here, Theodore Adorno, who was chief of the music division, Handley Cantrell, a psychologist at Princeton University's Department of Psychology, Gordon Allport, another of Lazarfield's assistants, went on to be the Tavistock Institute's leading representative in the United States. Frank Stanton, researcher from CBS, sent to help the project, went on to become president of CBS.
Now, I have since come to believe that the extraterrestrial portion of all of this is nonsense, but that the technology is real. I believe that many of us were shown these documents over the years so that later we would talk about it. I mean, how can you keep the existence of extraterrestrials, if they were real, a secret? And how could anyone keep quiet knowing that they had seen documentation, official government documents labeled top secret, that expressed that these extraterrestrials were real and had visited this earth?
only are the moisture and heat characteristics of the atmosphere altered with the introduction of aerosols, but the electromagnetic properties have likely been changed as well. An ion is a charged electrical particle, and all of the data supports the claim that massive amounts of easily ionized particles are another important part of the grand geophysical picture. There are some elements that can actually become charged with the energy from ultraviolet light and even visible light in some cases. Barium is one such element that falls into this category. The implications of being able to modify the atmosphere electrically and magnetically are enormous, and a variety of physical methods that are used to transfer, manipulate, control, and propagate energy in that medium must then be considered. As an example of how a small change can produce a major effect, consider the following statement from Lancaster University in the United Kingdom on the topic of the ionosphere. Quote, "Although less than 1% of the upper atmosphere becomes ionized, the charged particles make the gas electrically conducting, which completely changes its characteristics. The ionosphere can carry electrical currents as well as reflect, deflect, and scatter radio waves." Unquote. Multiple measurements of atmospheric conductivity levels, extremely low frequency and very low frequency radiation, as well as magnetic variations, support the claims made that the basic electrical properties of our atmosphere have been changed. These two physical properties alone that have been mentioned, that of thermodynamic and electrodynamic change, have the prospect of changing our world so much that even the most conservative of environmentally aware individuals should be aware of the prospect for disturbance and damage. Changes in heat and energy are at the foundation of the life of this planet and all those who dwell upon it. It is a necessary, logical, and natural extension to our discussion of applications to include the almost inevitable role the military assumes within them. Indeed, the dichotomy of extreme, sustained, and continuous interest and monitoring of the aerosol research by the military and intelligence complex, juxtaposed with the public declaration by the U.S. Air Force that this entire subject is a hoax, is curious enough that many of us may wish to seek the truth of the matter. The most advanced military agencies, intelligence services, and defense contractors clearly have an interest in monitoring and controlling the level of discussion and disclosure on the aerosol issue. The tools of research and analysis must therefore be used at least in part to compensate for the lack of openness that now shrouds this democracy under the guise of national security. A glimpse into the military window has been achieved, and a central theme will eventually emerge, and that is of control. Control in the deepest and far-reaching sense that you may imagine. For when the atmosphere of the planet is controlled, life itself, in the end, is controlled.